Hello everyone and welcome to witness number
44.
June Umchinda'S. And June has seemed to be a very important witness in the Dan Markel murder, but also in the Charlie Adelson trial. She'll be a very important witness because she knows about the stapled money, but especially this phrase that she said that Donna said that Dan was haunting her from the grave, and that was asked to be withheld and suppressed from the trial
By Charlie Adelson's counsel, and that is currently being reviewed by Judge Everett and will probably get a ruling by the 20th and the case management hearing.
And it's so weird that this Friday is Friday the 13th, and thinking about Dan haunting from the grave. And I said in my other videos, I hope that he was haunting them. Sorry, not sorry. But whatever the case may be, I just thought that the back and forth with all the paperwork, the motions, and all of the back and forth was kind of interesting. And I kind of wanted to go over that with you all to just show you how much of a hot button issue this sentiment really was, and has kind of gotten under Charlie's defense's skin, probably especially Donna's, because I don't think that Charlie would make such a stink about this, but probably in Donna's defense, yes. So let's go to some of that paperwork that was filed on the 10th of October. So let's take a look at that paperwork right now.
Okay, everyone. First, let's look at the filings from Charlie Adelson's defense in the issue of testimony from June Umchinda'S. And I think that after reading this, the biggest issue was whether this statement came before or after an arrest. So they go on to say that defendant Charles Adelson submits this reply in further support of his motion in limine to preclude the state from eliciting from June Umchinda'S testimony regarding a statement she attributed to Donna Adelson that she felt as though Professor Markel was haunting her from the grave, and states as follows. During the pretrial motion hearing on October 9th, the court reserved the ruling on the defendant's motion. So the judge decided to take his time on this issue because Mrs. Umchinda'S was unable to specify when Mrs. Adelson made this statement, other than to say the statement came after an arrest. The state attempts to link Mrs. Adelson's statement to her son's state of mind by pointing to comments Mr. Adelson made in an intercept communications immediately after the bump. Critically, however, the comments by Mr. Adelson relied upon the state were made before any arrests were made, as the court suggests during the hearing, with the state unable to demonstrate that Mrs. Adelson's statement, if made, had any bearing on her son's state of mind. The testimony at issue is irrelevant and should be excluded. But we all know that Charlie was freaking out because of the bump, and that is what the state is going to show next. Okay, everybody, this is the state's response to the defendant's motion in limine to suppress any of the testimony from June Umchinda'S about Dan Markel haunting Donna Adelson from the grave. Let's hear what the state has to say, or had to say, about this motion. The defense counsel moved the court to prohibit the state from eliciting testimony from witness June Umchinda'S about the statement made by the defendant's mother, Donna Adelson, some time after the bump, about feeling like Professor Markel was haunting her from his grave. The defendant argued the statement was both hearsay and substantially more prejudicial than probative. During arguments, the state argued that the statement was not being offered for the truth of the matter. However, the court's main concern was the relevance of the statement. The court ordered the state to provide any evidence in its possession which would go to show Mrs. Adelson's statement had bearing on the defendant's state of mind, therefore relevant. After the hearing, the undersigned spoke with Ms. Umchinda'S, who was unable to be more specific about the date that Mrs. Adelson made the comment, other than it was around the time of an arrest. The arrest in the case occurred shortly after the bump and the wiretap investigation in the spring and summer. The bump occurred on April 19th of 2016 in August. So it goes on to talk about when Lewis was arrested and then Sigfredo Garcia. So there were a lot of arrests happening, a lot of uneasiness. While the state is unable to further narrow down the date, the statement was made throughout the undercover investigation and wiretap. The defendant tells his co-conspirator Magbanua about his mother's state of mind and discusses hardships this family was going through because of the blackmailer. The evidence will show at trial that the defendant's actions both before and after the murder are inspired partially by his effort to shield his mother from emotional anguish. Specifically, the defendant's meeting with Magbanua tells Magbanua about his mother's state of mind in the following blackmailing ruse. And this is what they, I guess, took from an excerpt of one of the wiretaps. He, the undercover operative, didn't scare her, but just his presence. You have to understand his presence. My mom had diarrhea all night. She hasn't been eating, and she has been up since 2 o'clock in the morning with diarrhea. Like, how do you think that feels? My mom, 65 years old, up since 2 in the morning with blanking diarrhea. Oh, poor Donna, poor Charlie having to deal with that. Oh boy, well, Dan Markel is hopefully haunting them from the grave. I hope so. On this Friday the 13th weekend coming up, the state reviews its argument that the state of mind of all co-conspirators is relevant in the case against defendant because of the way the conspiracy was created. One conspirator's actions and emotions bleed into the next conspirator's actions as evidence in flow of communication following the bump. Donna Adelson confided in the defendant. The defendant confided in Magbanua. And then Magbanua sought help from Sigfredo Garcia, the convicted killer, to reveal the source of the blackmail. Just like the nasty divorce led to anguish for Wendy Adelson, which then caused turmoil against the entire Adelson family, with birthing the conspiracy to murder Professor Markel. So they go on to just say the actions show the state of mind, and it seems like June Umchinda'S testimony is going to be really important, especially her testimony about the stapled money and Charlie keeping his clothes by the bed after the arrest affidavit was released in the 2020 episode, and all of his world travels and his erratic behavior. Stay tuned. Her testimony is going to be so important in this trial. Let's hope that she comes ready with all of the truth that she can give. And Dan Markel and his death has probably haunted the Adelsons for so long in ways that nobody, not even our worst enemy, would want to know. And let's just know that June has a ton of relevant testimony that we all cannot wait to hear, or maybe something new that she can say that will convince the jury to convict Charlie Adelson. They're probably going to try to paint her as a jealous ex-lover or ex-girlfriend or whatever of Charlie's, but I don't think she will come across that way. I think that June will hopefully hold her own with Daniel Rashbaum in the questioning and tell the state what they need to hear. So thank you so much for listening and watching and liking and subscribing, everybody. Have a great day. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Let's look forward to this trial. I hope that all the witnesses are not losing sleep over this stress. Let's just hope for justice in this case and that they do a good job and that everybody gets to Tallahassee safely and everybody stays in good health and good spirits and remembers that let's just focus on a great verdict and justice for the Markels and that they pick a great jury pool. And I hope to see everyone at the trial that has been following this case very closely, and
will be there. So I hope that everyone has a wonderful day, and let's hope for justice for Dan. Thank you for watching.